Alright, welcome back to the Wallace branch. And we're looking at a new engineer and a new set of locomotives and a unit train of empty hoppers heading to Huskins to pick up limestone. These are two new Alco RS11s. RS11 is, I think, in terms of the exterior, one of my favorite locomotives, or maybe my favorite going back to when I was a kid. I just thought that the form factor was so lovely. I really liked the cutouts with the angled number boards. Practical, I think, as well. And we have Conrail Blue, and we've got Pennsylvania and Berwind, the new paint scheme that I also applied to the S2. Or I should say it's the old paint stream in my lore of the route. And the Conrail RS11 that you see, I decided to go with a little bit less weathering than for the other Conrails that I used. A lot of the Conrail RS11s that are pictured have, old Penn Central or Lehigh Valley, other paint schemes like that. So I'm imagining that this one had an older paint scheme and just recently got repainted. And we're pulling into Juniata. And time to program this train on AI control. So I think I checked beforehand, and it needs to go to, trains from Juniata need to go via West Yard East tracks. Okay, so we're going to see if you can do that for us. It's looking good. And while we are in Juniata, we are going to tackle... Is it close? I think it's close. I think it's Tyler. Tyler is the one with the paper up, but actually the paper is still working on paper. I'm going to assume that that is actually actively unloading, but it's going to bear waiting and seeing, I'd say. When we left off in the last episode, Tram was stuck here, and I didn't know why. So I think that the thing to do is just to get Tram moving again. Tram is taking some boxcars to pick up some more fertilizer, and also dropping off these tank cars at the refinery, or I should say actually working these tank cars at the refinery. We have a bunch of loaded tank cars already at the refinery, but we need to pick up this sodium hydroxide. And I'm really hoping that works. It's like so many things on this route, I did not have a chance to test everything out beforehand, and it's the unbearable lightness of trains playing that I couldn't practice one time through first. I had to give it a go live, as you will. So yeah, I think Tram here is probably pulling or pushing more than it can handle, considering that there's a grade here. So figure 2,000 horsepower, so maybe that's feasible. But once these things are loaded, then not so much. So yeah, let's just pull this across the bridge. And this one looks good, of course. And that's going into the refinery? Yes, it is. We only have one track. So basically, should be good. See if we can get a good angle on Tram as we come around this corner. The fact that the Pennsylvania and Berwind and Conrail colors don't match at all, I actually see that as kind of a plus. It gives a little bit of contrast, because a lot of my playthroughs, especially with Wallace branch, they're sort of a little bit monochromatic, if you will. Not to use a $4 word where a $1 word would work. Corey Rod 30 says, "Yo, what's up? Nice stream. Keep it up." I really like the game and would love to connect and support you if you don't mind. Let's connect. Awesome. Yeah, I am on Discord. I am on the main trains Discord, so if you find me, and I will look for you as well. So thanks. Yeah, and thanks for watching. And I don't know if you've joined the P&B operating sessions before, but I am operating on a combination of the Pennsylvania and Berwind, and then this is the seam that connects the Pennsylvania and Berwind to the DBEV. So 2 different routes connected by this one single track. A little bit awkward to have just this one grade going up to connect those 2. I don't want to put it on my list as something I plan to come back to, but yeah, maybe, I mean, logically, I think it would be nice to have actually 2 tracks leading to the DBEV, but you know, bridges are expensive, so maybe they just decided 1 track would have to be a bottleneck, something that they would have to live with. Yeah, so this is actually one of the urgent tasks that has to be done today. Today, game time, of course. So I think it's good to be just sticking on this train. Obviously, tram was stuck, so that's another reason. But, yeah, we need to get this done. These are the Alco S2 switch engines that I created not too long ago. There's a really big bump there. My goodness. Something needs to be addressed in that particular spot, I would say. Vixter. Vixter says, oh, Penn Central? Sorry I'm late, Vixter says. How are you? Made any progress on your route? And here we are coming into the switch. I'm going to take it down to yard speed. Ooh, we're coming over a big rooftop. Change the angle. The refinery in the background looks splendid, in my opinion. Got a power line going into a building, though. That's not good. Wonder how that happened. Probably relates somehow to the moving of everything on this part of the DBEV shifted a little bit further to that direction, so that's probably how that happened. Easy enough to correct. I'd rather have a power pole sticking through a building than have it sticking through a track or through a vehicle. Yeah, we've got an X Penn Central, but numbered for the Conrail numbering. And of course, Pennsylvania and Berwind. Nobody in the cab there, because the tram is in the P&B cab, I guess. Which makes sense. Makes sense in trains terms, anyway. Okay, I think we're actually there. Hadn't been paying attention to the right part of this train. Oh no. Not quite there. Now, none of these are loading while moving, but I am shifting more towards the loading while moving operating session, and I have made a couple more changes in that direction, as I stated in the end of the last episode. Mixer says, no, I'm planning on it though. Have no idea what else to add. And for my part, I can really report I'm super, super happy with the progress on the Alcos. So essentially, I set out, and if you've been following this channel, you probably remember me saying, I had a list of Alcos that I wanted to do, and basically that list, I'm now done with that list. You know, with the RS11, the S2s, those were finished this week, so finished, so to speak, I guess. Now, given how heavy this train is going to be, I sort of wonder if we have to come with more power to pick it up. And I think one way to do that would be to bring Adair. Adair is having... One way to do that is to bring Adair up to... Yes. Up to the debev area. Obviously, we have to clear this track out anyway. Oh, we have plenty more boxcars that haven't been filled. You know, maybe before I should look at the commodities first, huh? Okay, so Adair. Change of plan. Adair will now be filling up the remainder of these boxcars before assisting out with Tram at the refinery. Potentially assisting. Should I pull it back a little bit further? I think we shall. Okay, that's going to do it for Adair. Now, one thing that... wait, Tram? Okay. I want to get back to Jane. Okay, finishing that thought, I have switched some of the tracks to loading and unloading while moving, and one of those that I have switched is this grain elevator area. Now, initially, the way I had done it was I had timed, 3 different loading areas, and I thought that that would enable this to go relatively quickly. But as you know, it's been working on this almost since the beginning of the playthrough. So far. So I think you have to imagine that this train is able to unload while moving. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if these cars would be able to do that. But right now, I'm willing to believe it. And that way Jane can finish up here, and then Jane can pick up the lumber that Jane, I believe, dropped off at the very first task that we did on this route. Pick up those lumber empties and move those cars into a yard. Start getting them sorted for whatever next tasks awaits them. We can just stop here. Loading, unloading while moving does not actually require it to be moving. And then we can mark that agway task as ag co-op, task as completed. Tyler has indeed managed to drop off, and this, I guess this is going to be a rather lengthy task. Boxcars. Oh, I see what the issue is. I was wondering, how come, shouldn't I pull through? But there's a slight problem here, is that this track just ends. I did not observe that. That is extremely frustrating, as you can imagine, because look at the length of this train. Okay, well, another surprise. Okay, stop. Got this switch. This switch, maybe this this junction needs to be adjusted slightly, but I am glad that the edit was possible to make. It was not too time consuming. Didn't take all day. All right, so I'm going to speculate that the length of the track is as long as the building. I'm not going to try to line up those boxcars, but it sort of looks like it could be. Maybe it's more for 50-foot boxcars, actually, now that I think about it. How about there? And if that does not work, I will go and edit it so that it does work. Because that's the beauty of the MI2. Okay, so Tyler Paper. Next is Richard. And yes, I am looking at a cheat sheet. This really looks good in this light, and then if you turn around, it does not look as good. But we have to kind of turn around. Now, I have done what I said I was going to do, which is I have adjusted this to be a loading while moving. So let's see if we can get that done. And this will actually finish another task. So 2 tasks in less than a half an hour. So yeah, I think we're on session 9 now. So that would imply we're doing about 1 task per hour. A little bit better than 1 task per hour. Ooh, took a big jump there. I have actually made some of these animated loads like this, and they are tough. They are very tough to get right. It seems so simple, like, isn't it just moving up? But the thing is that the car is not shaped perfectly to enable that to happen. So I think that's probably why there's that little jog in there. These are not my cars, not my loads, but I think I understand what's going on there. Trains is such a versatile game, and it's simple enough that I don't want to say any creator, but almost any creator can do so much and basically master almost every aspect of creating content for the game, except for, I would say, scripting. The fact that it uses train script and not something that you could just use, I don't know, AI or some other tool to generate your own scripts for. You have to master this specialty script. That's the one thing that I haven't even approached at this point. I have edited scripts when the script is already there, and it's just a matter of finding out what one function does. That's the first step of learning scripting usually. But yeah. Didn't actually check to see whether we have space on this track. Seems like we do. Seems like the switches are all nicely aligned. Almost. Now, the Multi-Industry 2 does enable particle effects, but I feel that it wouldn't look so good. I'm going to give it a try, because I haven't used it yet at all. What I would ideally like is for there to be like a big cloud of smoke, but I think the particle effects does not currently support that. Again, I'm going to have to give it a try. And when I do give it a try, you're going to see it. It will not be a wasted try. Looking good, looking good, looking good. Yeah, we are ready to go. Crew is happy. Now this is an extremely weathered Lehigh Valley scheme, re-stenciled for Conrail. And this is based on an actual real photograph of a locomotive. I don't think it was quite this weathered, quite this filthy, but in the same range, let's say. But for the new RS11, I have also created another very similar scheme to this, again based on a photograph, and I made it cleaner, so there's a little variety in that sense. I have not yet done it, but I probably will do it in the future to enable skin changer on these types of locomotives. For PBR textures, skin changer is a little challenging because you have to make sure that the weathering is not affecting all the roughness and normals and stuff like that. Or else you have to use Wagon X, which I haven't used yet. Okay, let's tag all these cars. And they are going where? They are going to Juniata Power? No, Grafton Dockside. And my idea here would be to pull into Laurel, which I think is the next stop on the line. Just make sure nobody's coming. Yes, Isla is well past. So all we have to do is pull ourselves here. So if we do Laurel, Main, these are always so confusing. I have to tilt the map to figure out which is which. Okay, Laurel, Siding, track 2 west. So pause. Drive via, drive to 600 Laurel, Siding, track 2 west. And then, why don't we run around the train? See if that works. It's always risky. Now, Vaughn is patiently waiting here to get back on the road. And I've just observed, and I think since we're here, we might as well work Thomas. Now, Thomas has been stuck here since almost the beginning of our playthrough. And I believe he's loading. Yes, Thomas is supposed to be loading furniture here. Oops. Didn't click on the right train. So now that there's no trains coming in from Juniata, this should be a good opportunity to work Thomas. And I don't know if this is can only do one boxcar at a time track, but it might be safe to assume that it is. Lots of frogs in this area, and no pun intended, literally frogs. And let's see how our unloading task is going here at the distribution. There's a lot of smoke coming off of that factory. So it looks like almost done with this segment, so we can continue working it. And if you remember, this is one of the today tasks, so that's why I'm going to be coming back to it a little bit more than normal. But let's see what happened with our little RS2s. Aha, Amy is stuck. Interesting. We're going to have to check out that next. First, let's go for our RS2s, though. Okay, tram. What's going on with you? I think what's going on is that these tank cars cannot actually load that product. Okay, we may be able to get 3 or maybe just 2. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can just get 2 at a time. And I don't think that this is quite all the fertilizer that we need to load here. But progress is progress. Let's jump back to Tyler. Ooh, Tyler has just 1 more good to offload there. Is the door opening there? It is. Is it? I think it is. Yeah, it is. Now, I don't know what happens if I pull away while the door is still open. Presumably nobody loses their legs. Ooh, with that corner and the low power of these locomotives, these are really struggling right now. They are moving. I can see the flicker of the shadow on the ground. Train is actually getting lighter, so it's not that the... Yeah, ooh, look at that. We're talking about inching forward. And it might actually be slowing down is my concern. I probably made that switch a little bit too tight. If we were going in the other direction, it would be an option to just decouple and make a running start or something like that, but not going this direction. That doesn't work at all. Of course, I could do a runaround. That's an option. But I was liking the idea of just pulling the whole train through first. Wow. Huh. I think it registers somehow that this train is actually stopped, and so it's unloading that car. Which is, let's just say, not very realistic. That's my guess anyway. We have actually made 1 car length. And we're up to 1 mile an hour now. That's definitely encouraging. Yeah, it's once the 2 locomotives are both on the straightaway, then the problem of flange friction is either reduced or eliminated. Yeah, here we go. Excellent. And stop it right there. A very needed change. Let's go back to Andrew. Andrew also has been worked over the last couple of episodes. Oops, sorry for the excessive rotation there. I can't think of why those switches would not be aligned, but best to be cautious. we are going also here to the Grafton dockside. Pennsylvania Berwind in the more modernized 1980s paint scheme that I created. Start slowing down now that we are just getting ready to hook up with these boxcars. Some part of me says, well, we can just leave the boxcars because we're not taking them anywhere, but that's not really good practice, is it? And I said it before, but this little town looks mighty nice in the daytime. And it is a project of mine to come back and eliminate some of these spline grasses that are a little bit too billboardy. They look nice, but only from this low angle, basically ground level. Even at this angle, you can already easily spot that they're 2D billboards. Now, as we approach this switch, I bet this is going to go off again. We'll see. Even though we're not pointing in this direction at all. That's what happened last time anyway. No, we're going over the switch. We're entering that track. It's interesting how the shadow is on this building. It seems like this must be a shading error with the mesh. And that guy is sort of standing halfway into the telephone booth. It's so convenient how they labeled it as 701 Mill Creek stopped. They, of course, I know who we're talking about. Get a nice contact here. There we are. Now we've assembled the train, but we haven't switched the cabooses. And what I was thinking about is maybe, put a caboose on each side so that then when we're in the next yard, we can easily switch out one of these two cabooses. Instead of just leaving the trailing caboose on a yard track, we would be able to run the caboose into a caboose track that way. That should be far enough. Now it thinks it's loading at the passenger station, of course, but it's not. Okay, we don't have that much clearance, so I'm gonna take both the cabooses instead of doing what I talked about just now. And yes, adding the caboose does add a significant number of train moves. But whereas I thought it was going to be almost impossible, especially for these routes that I have with very few switch engines in the yards and in some cases industries with very few tracks, I thought it was going to be much more difficult, but it's quite feasible. And it does not require splitting up these consists like I thought as well. Looking at my little list of tasks as we close out the episode here. Richard, of course, did the coal at Babcock. That's all taken care of. Paper, we were taking care of it, and we'll go back there immediately. Jane is finished, but still sitting there at the Ag Co-op. And then we've got our blue SW1200s in the refinery. Unfortunately, that's blocked because we don't know what sodium hydroxide is supposed to load into. What car would be capable of carrying that? I don't know. And then we've got, oh, that was the tram with the S2s, sorry. So the blue SW1200s, we have not actually addressed that. And then Isla going to Huskins. Presumably Isla is already in Allegheny by now, so it might be just a matter of programming her to drive on to Huskins. I'm not sure. We'll have to look at the map. So yeah, still to do this episode, those three things that I mentioned: Tyler, blue SW1200s, and Isla going to Huskins. It feels like this town, being at the end of the line and being in slightly hilly area, it feels like this would be an upgrade, but it's not. Totally flat. There we are. All right. Now we can program you to go to Laurel main crossover. Eastbound. Okay, and Richard is here. Of course, Richard has a caboose now at the wrong side. Navigate to Grafton. I think it might be way here at the bottom or something. Grafton here? No, can't be. Let's see if that will work. Richard is heading off. Go to Tyler. Tyler. Unfortunately, we pulled a little bit too far forward, didn't we? Okay, so this one, and we have to stop it a little bit sooner. How about there? Wow, I said sooner and actually pulled way further forward than last time. Gonna have to back up. That's not acceptable. Always remember these RS1s are very bulky. They're hard to stop. Bulky, not bulky. Okay, very good. Now let's go to our blue SW1200s. There we go, Philippe. That's the name I was looking for all this time. Aha. Philippe is causing all sorts of problems, which is totally a surprise. And it's not really Philippe that's causing the problems. It's that he pulled too far, I guess. Huskins is indeed on that side. Is it? No, Huskins is on the other side. So actually Isla sort of needs to not be here in Allegheny. So this is potash. Aha, this is mainly potash for... yeah, so this does make sense. But it's not going to make sense for you to stop there. So this is actually Amy, is that correct? I think so. Yes, Amy. I thought it was Isla. Moving a little bit fast for the speed limit, I know, but let's just get this into this track so we can get Philippe on the way with some of these cars for Highland. Now let's leave the caboose here. Not leave the caboose, temporarily put the caboose there. And we can get this train underway for Highland, and that will be our last activity for this playthrough. For today's 1 hour session. All right, let's couple this. And unfortunately, just looking at the map, it does appear that Highland Brewery is way over on this other side, right? Yes, Highland Brewery is over here. So that means we're going to have to do a runaround. And that means we're going to run out of time. So yeah, we got everything coupled together. So let's just program the runaround first. I'm going to assume that that's going to be handled correctly. So, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. I really enjoyed myself, and once again, we're leaving off right in the middle of some urgent tasks, but the time is still early, 10:45 or something like that, I think. Yeah, 10:40. So, yeah, we've got time to handle all these different tasks, no worries. And we'll be back again next week with the resolution of our Highland train, figuring out that sodium hydroxide issue with the tank cars, finishing up with Tyler at the paper distribution site, and all those other incredibly exciting things that we have to do. So, hope you enjoyed this playthrough of the Pennsylvania Berwind, and we'll see you again in episode 10.